Well, what's happening, y'all? Look, I am so excited that we are here tonight. It is Friday night. Some of you all want to be out in them streets. Others of you have other things going on, and I'm glad that you're here with us. I am excited about this conversation with two of my friends, some of my dearest friends, people who are amazing at what they do and who they are is even more so. And so, what we're going to do is have a conversation on purpose, an on purpose conversation. And I want you, there'll be some chance to put out some comments and to as well maybe ask a question here or two if we have some time at the very end. But in this conversation today, the goal is let me tell you that what on purpose conversation is it's really to encourage you, to inspire you, empower you to end this year on top, to have the strength that you need to go forward. Holidays can be, for me, holidays were always, over the last few years, have always been kind of a challenge. After the death of my aunt who raised me, and I love my mother who birthed me, and but we've always been in different states, and so holidays have, being sometime at one point just kind of by myself. Thank God I'm married now, and my wife, we're able to spend these times together. And so, as I thought about these things and thought about what do people need around this time? What do people want? One of my passions is advising and leading, as well as inspiring and inspection. And so I say one, but some of my passions and talents. And so I thought, it would be great to have a conversation with some people I know that are pretty busy. In fact, one of them tonight is taking some time to maybe put some stuff aside just to be here. But they're pretty busy, but they're pretty focused, and they love to have fun, and they love to live life to its fullest. In fact, when you hear Ricardo Miller, who is effective living, he's always talking about ways to effectively live a life to its fullest. And so we're going to have a conversation with them tonight. Again, if you have a comment, if you have a question, if you just want us to, if you want to reach out, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see where you can contact some folks. Leaders Image is the name that you'll see for me. Leaders Image is basically something I formed in 2010 as I was doing conferences around the country, and basically it helps people to see the best in them and to bring out the best in them. There's a Latin word that's educare or educar. It means to bring out what is innately there, to draw out what is innately in there. So that's where we get the word education from. And so that's what Leaders Image is about. Leaders Image is about helping people see who they are, inspiring them to be who they are, and to take action on that. That's enough about me and intros. That was 5 minutes. I got some people waiting in the room for them. So let me bring to the forefront a young lady who is amazing at what she does. And she is, I'll let her and this young man introduce themselves. You all can.
Ricardo, he called us young. This is so exciting.
I'll let them introduce themselves, but I'm so glad that you all are here tonight. Esther and Ricardo, what's happening with y'all?
Oh my goodness, super excited.
Go for it, Esther.
Super excited. Okay, I am going to introduce myself. Is that okay? Ricardo, young man, is that okay with you if I go ahead and introduce? No, EC, I am super excited, so pumped to be a part of this conversation with two dynamic men who just mean the world to me. My name is Esther Moreno, and I'm the founder of Child's Heart. LLC, which is really dedicated towards training children's ministry leaders and workers and inspiring them and encouraging them to go forth with the spirit of excellence and how they reach children and families for Christ. So that is what I do. I speak all over the country. I always have my hand in something. But EC, when you call me, I'm like, it's EC. You gotta come for that. You have to make room for EC.
You know what? I see where this is going tonight. There's nothing formal about this. and y'all, I'll tell you a little something about Esther too. She's got a nice shoe game. She is all about them kicks. So yeah,
I'm trying to train Coach Ricardo on that. You know, I'm trying to shape him and mold him and really walk alongside him and be his coach when it comes to his shoe game. So it's one of my favorite ministries.
Well, go ahead.
One of the pluses today, she sent me some suggestions.
I did.
2024, so I'm excited about that.
Well, let's hear who's Ricardo.
Ricardo Miller. Man, listen, EC, once again, thank you so much for the invitation. I love you, bro. We go way back, and as I mentioned a little while back, I did my first Uber drive ride with you, and boy, how Uber went on. We should have invested when we jumped in that car.
Oh, right, absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
But,
go ahead.
Yeah. I'm Ricardo Miller. I'm born and raised in the Bahamas, but I live in Dallas, Texas, and I love life. And I believe in what EC mentioned a little bit earlier. I believe in the term living life effectively. And so the whole concept of living life effectively is centered around 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. I teach you can have it all, but I was raised and I was educated around people that said you can't have it all. Well, you know, they say you can't have your cake and eat it too. Well, who cake is it? You know,
Exactly. I am that made me think of something when you think about whose cake is it. If you can't have your cake and you can't eat it too, and whose cake is it, then what are we doing with the cake? If the cake is made, what are we doing with that cake if you can't eat it and you can't have it?
Yep.
Yeah, and you can't have your cake and eat it too. Who came up with that statement?
I'm texting someone right now, said Facebook is not coming through, so I'm making sure that's up. I don't know who would make a statement like that, because it was probably a vegan. That's probably what it is.
Good strategy.
You do know that I'm vegan, so you know that's probably something I would say. Maybe.
You know, I was a vegan for about 10 months.
Were you?
Yeah.
And why'd you go back?
Man, just having these different lunch meetings, dinner meetings, connecting with people like the Marinos. I went to Thanksgiving with those guys, and it was just difficult because they tried to
why he blamed it on us? You see him,
so you grew up in the Bahamas. Is it all about like meat there? What's the delicacy there?
Yeah, it's meat and fish. Yeah, it's straight up. You're gonna have some meat on your plate. Yeah. But when I went home, they were looking at me strange, like, you know, you've gone a little bit too far, brother.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what changed you back? Why'd you go back to
like I said, really, I still think at the very core it's an interest of mine. But when I looked at the level of inconvenience being an itinerant speaker, and people, I mean, every other week at the time I was traveling, and when it comes to telling them what to get for me to eat, and having to sit at these tables where I'm the host, and the vast majority of what they put on the table, I'm sorry, And then it goes into the full I'm actually more of me now than I was then. So I'm so much more comfortable in saying that's not who I am or that's not what I'm about. It took me a while to be able to draw the line and stand alone or stand strong in what I believe as to what I was about, because I wanted to do it. And as a matter of fact, early on, I remember being a vegetarian when I was about 19. And once again, it was the pressure from the outside that disrupted this idea that I wanted to embrace on the inside.
Wow. See, you can't, Ricardo cannot help but teach and bring it and make it.
Is this about veganism? Like, what is this about?
Exactly. And so the effective living way of eating. So we're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to that. But let me say this to you all. Thank you for coming. I tease, but Ricardo, I secretly, inwardly call you the mini Miles Monroe. I know that was your mentor.
Wow.
And you exude that leadership. You exude that conversation. As you've gotten older, your voice sounds like him. Only thing now you have the beard. I'm really proud of you, bro. So
and you notice I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And that's our sponsor tonight. Is beard oil, and we'll talk a little about that. But anyway, I say that's your nickname. I think the nickname that I have for you, Esther, is Little Miss Marathon, because you're always going. You're always going, and with that being the case, what keeps you going? What keeps you going?
Oh man, that's such a good question. EC, I would really say what keeps me going is just believing that what I'm doing is making an impact. And EC, I know you had sent us questions ahead of time, and it was so as I was thinking about this and I was reflecting, and it's so funny because Ricardo's here, and he was someone who he may not realize it, but I remember when he was, really deep into children's ministry. And Ricardo, you had written this book. I remember you had written this book, Children's Ministry something. I'm such a great friend. Get your copy of Children's Ministry something today.
Yeah.
But Wisdom Keys for Children's Ministry.
Wisdom Keys for Children's Ministry. And I got an opportunity to hang out with Ricardo. He had came in town, and I remember he had gave me this book, and he had signed it. And I didn't look at it until he had left. And on the inside of it, it said, "The world needs what you have to offer." And it sounds like such a simple statement, but I think for so many of us, we don't believe that. We don't believe that the world needs what we have to offer, that God has created us and in his image in a unique way to give something to this earth. And that statement right there, he does not know. It kept me for so many years. I continued when it got hard to say, the world needs what you have to offer, Esther. And as I've continued, as I've been able to witness the impact that God has allowed me to have in the earth, as I sign books, as I'm now on my 4th leadership book, when I sign books and I autograph them, I say quite often the exact same thing, because I think it's such an important message for people to know, and for people not just to read, but to embrace for themselves.
Yeah. The world needs what you have to offer.
Yeah.
I love that. Ricardo, what keeps you going, man?
Man, a few years ago, I captured this whole concept of being a fish in water. I tell people, when a fish is in water, it's in its element, and it's in its place where it belongs, and that's what keeps me going. I believe I'm in the place where I belong, and that's the place where I tell people I've created a life I don't need a vacation from. I like who I am. I like what I'm about. As a matter of fact, EC, I think it was about 2 years ago. I think everybody thought I was crazy because I did what I called a digiton, where it was 12 hours of interviews. I'm talking about conversation after, it was just, I'm talking about 10-minute breaks. and I just was going in from session to session. And so I say that to say this, EC, everybody has a place where they belong. And when you find that place, it becomes one with how you show up in the world. And I think that's been the thing for me. Now, what I said is, one, I wanted to find that place. I found it. Two, I wanted to do life with others who have found that place. I'm now doing that. And then I want to cash in on it. That's what I'm working on.
I love that. Like that last part, that it's hard for people. My wife and I were talking today about the idea of chasing. We chase the last part first. Mm-hmm. We chase the cash first, mm-hmm. and then expect what you want to do to come out of that.
Yeah.
And it never works that way. Do you all find that to be true?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even listening to you guys, the first thing that I'm thinking about, which has really helped me along the way, is learning to take little bites of the elephant at a time. I think so many of us, we're not okay with that. You know, we want to arrive immediately. We don't want to when you take those little bites of the elephant, that's your journey of growth. You grow and get stronger and stronger and more consistent. I think that is really has been, at least for me, that has been a key, being okay with that, knowing that perfection is the enemy of progress. And as I take a little bite of the elephant, if it didn't turn out perfect, that's okay. I can go forward and make it stronger and better and improve the next time.
Well, and to that point, let me say this real quick. I think to that point mm-hmm. is we are always looking. That's the difference between the sprint and the marathon. Yeah, we're looking for the goal, and so we want to like take off out of the blocks and be at the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it doesn't work that way. You know, a marathon is 26 miles. We want to go from mile 1, 2, 3, 25, 26. And it does take that biting off the short things, and you eventually get there. I'm sorry, Ricardo, go ahead.
No, you're right on, EC. I remember telling a number of my clients, I said, man, listen, this effective living journey is a marathon. Mm-hmm. And so with that said, when I started to develop this space, one of the things I said was that I wanted to become one with my message. That was my first goal. My first goal was to become one with my message. And then the second goal was to build a community. That's why I do my early morning talks. That's why I do my in-person meetings. That's the reason why I do my annual cruise, because now we're building the community. And now 2024, I told them, EC, they're going to think I'm money hungry because I'm talking about cashing in. Because I am now feeling like I'm in my message. I am doing life with a community of like-minded people that is connected with this message. The next point now is to show me the money.
I think that's important, though, Ricardo, even hearing you talk, like, I think that's so important to have a strategic plan. As you're talking, the word strategy is coming to mind. How many of us really come out with a strategic plan to walk through when we're trying to build, you know, when we're trying to create or walk in that purpose we feel like God is calling for us to walk in, you know? I'm with you. Ching.
Well, you said ching, and it reminds me of, so again, I told you that I was having a conversation with my wife today of us chasing the ching, and mm-hmm. A lot of times, as I said before, sometimes we want to mm-hmm. find purpose and all of that at the end of that. And so we start at that back part. And I share with you guys, and, you know, I'll share with the rest of the audience. I have been seeing a therapist and over the last year. So, you know, starting last year, hit some rock and had some personal what I would call failure, but just some personal struggles. And in that, I kept thinking, you know, I need to get through this. So I'm looking for like stuff to do and maybe a different job. You know, I'm searching, and I remember applying for all these different things. And in the middle, it was August of last year, I had an anxiety attack and a panic attack. I had never had one, didn't know what it was. And I've had GERD, so I know what acid reflux,
Yeah.
but it was like acid reflux on acid reflux. It was like my chest was tight. I couldn't breathe. I was driving. I had to pull over because it's just a lot of stress. A lot of stuff was going on. Fast forward, beginning of this year, there's been a lot of changes in my life in this last year. I got engaged last December. And then the beginning of this year, I ended up having another one. And after that one, I was talking to my then fiance saying, you know what? I think I need some help. I need to seek some help. So I start seeking a therapist. And, but it took me so long to do it because I thought that going back to the point of Ching Ching, I thought that I could find purpose in something else. Yeah. And after seeing this therapist, she put me on a 14-day, like 2 weeks of every single day, focusing on your passion, focusing on what do you really want to do? She asked me some hard, poignant questions that made me just kind of dig in places I didn't want to dig. And first day I'm on the phone, tears coming to my eyes, like, yo, I didn't come in here for that. This is not, I just came for somebody to talk to me, help me figure this thing out. And as we dug through that, as I started every day leaning towards that, this conversation came. And as I shared with you all, this is part of my passions to help see people where they are to where they're supposed to be, or in other words, where they are to where God designed and wanted them to be. Have you ever dreamed of, though, doing something opposite? Just that, have you ever dreamed of doing something that that's not what you're doing now?
Ricardo Miller.
I went to school, EC. I went to school for carpentry. When I left high school, my grandmother said, you either have heads for college or you have hands for trade school. I didn't have a head for college at the time, and so I went to trade school. And I can remember going to trade school and then getting a construction job and having gotten a job to do roofs and so forth, but I hated it, EC. I hated it. And then I got a hold of a Miles Monroe cassette tape, Born to Lead. And let me tell you something. I played that cassette while we were on the roof, and they were like, what are you listening to? I'm listening to this Miles Monroe tape. I started going to his services, started going to his conferences, and then he came out with the book In Pursuit of Purpose, and that's where it connected. And then somebody said, you should share your story because of where I came up on the streets. And I shared my story, EC. And the lady, when I came to speak, gave me an envelope with $275 in it. Now, listen, I was making $175 on the construction job for a week. And now I made $275 for speaking for about 40 minutes. Something happened, he said. Something happened. And so I was off track at that point and fell in love with what is this that I was so naturally doing that they compensated me for. And that's when I started leaning into it. But I always knew I wanted to speak. Initially, I dived into it from a children's ministry standpoint. And now I've evolved more into life management coaching and motivational speaking. That's really become my thing now. But once again, it's still all intertwined on where I initially began.
Wow. What was that? So was that your aha moment?
My aha moment was the definite moment when I spoke and got a check for it. I really didn't know that was going to happen. It wasn't the intent. And then I said, how come they gave me a check? And they said, well, you're the speaker. I said, well, tell me more about that. And they said, well, speakers make money. I said, but I spoke for 40 minutes. They gave me this. And that's when I was like, so what else do I need to do to really be a speaker? And someone suggested Toastmasters International. I joined Toastmasters, EC, and I was in Toastmasters for about 10 years and really developed a lot of the development that the program offered to help me to become who I am today.
Wow. So So you, Esther, you always wanted to be this person that is jumping around doing the stuff.
Oh, I never. If you had have asked the old Esther from 10 years ago, I would have never guessed that I would be doing this. I mean, for Esther Moreno, formerly Esther Miller, I had a plan for my life. You know, this is what I'm doing. I want to get married. I want to settle down. I'm going to seminary. I remember when Guy got his first position, because he's an attorney. He's always had a dream job to work for a judge. He wanted to work for a district court judge, got a position, and she ended up being a first lady of a church. And at the time, I was in seminary, and it just seemed like God was setting the whole thing up. And I remember her husband brought me into the church, and he invited me to preach my first sermon. And I remember I always knew that I wanted to do some form of kids ministry or something like that. So I remember he pointed to office and he said, "This is your future." Like he had told me, like, wow, this is your future in the four walls of one space right there. And I believed it, you know? So from that point on, I was conditioned to think this is the end all be all. Go to seminary, get a position in a church in the four walls of one space, embrace it, be happy, be stuck there forever. And as long as you get your own office, you have made it. You have arrived. And I mean, I think the aha moment for me was just it was the first time I was invited on a massive stage. I was nervous. I felt like pooping my pants. You might want to make this like rated R, this conversation. Just horrified, but just that natural Esther came out, and so many people receiving it, and just the joy that I got from being a part of that experience and impacting and inspiring people. I'm like, man. And even, you know, as I've navigated through this new world, really looking at that kind of that old world. It is kind of an old world. I love you, church. But, you know, but looking back at that and just saying, man, wow, like this is just incredible. It's just incredible.
So speaking of that, so you just wrote a book not too long ago. I believe it's called Children's Ministry in Crisis.
Yes.
To talk about that. What
I
is
did.
that about?
Which is totally crazy, because I'm like, the Esther 10 years ago would have never thought that she could write anything to tell anybody about their department being in crisis. I mean, but this is, you know, the new Esther that who has dedicated her life to this, who has done the work, who has done the research to help departments just across the country. Really, that book is really about what are those things that you may be missing when it comes to leading a children's ministry department effectively. And it was so funny. I wrote this book, and one of the last conferences that I went to, it was so funny. This children's pastor, this man, he comes up to me and he was like, "Man, you know, I was just looking for a book to read, and I read Children's Ministry in Crisis." And I said, "Well, my children's ministry department ain't in crisis." He said, "But dang, after I read your book," he said, "Oh my goodness, my children's ministry is in crisis."
What was it? Did he tell you what specifically was kind of that like, this is what makes, did he tell you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a leadership. So many of us in kids ministry, for what I do, we are missing so much when it comes to that leadership element. We are holding on to that old school model of what a children's pastor should be. They should be alluring and just really exciting for kids, and they should know how to connect with kids. They should like kids, and totally miss out on the fact of really equipping and nurturing volunteers and building strong teams and really leading like Jesus led the disciples. He equipped, he commissioned, he called, and really going through those steps. I think a lot of leadership deficiencies are just running rampant in the world of kids ministry.
Well, John Maxwell talks about that, is everything rises and falls on leadership. That's the bottom line. Yeah. In fact, that leads me to the question of Ricardo. Like when you hear that, and your book, the last one is, I don't know if this is the last one. You write so much, man, but Effective Living Guide to Creating a Life You Don't Need to Take a Vacation From. Is that right?
Yep.
So when you talk about leadership and you talk about living a life, how would a person lead themselves in that life where they don't have to take a vacation from that life? What is a good leader? What does it take to be a good leader in any area?
A good leader manage self well. It starts there. It's like you sort of said it in what you did in the introduction to ask me this question. A good leader manages self well. Now, what that means is, all depending on the magnitude of your calling, you then now needs to know to whom much is given, much is required. And so if you've been called to lead 10, your development level needs to go there. Now, there are some people, EC, who have been called to lead 1,000, but their development level is still at 10 or at 50. And watch this, the grace of God on their life is still for 1,000. And some of those guys have been promoted to positions of 1,000, but yet they're still functioning at the 10 and the 50 and the 100 level. And there's a clog in the line. There's frustration in the line, and they can't have no vacation, because even on the vacation, they're frustrated because their world is not built right. But when I talk about creating a life you don't need a vacation from a leadership standpoint, you understand that you can manage it all. And how do you manage it all? It's not called balance. It's called touching each part in its appropriate time. It's like juggling, EC. If I had to juggle 5 balls, each ball needs to be touched in its appropriate time so that neither of them will drop. And so faith, family, finance, fitness, fun, job, marriage, health, finance, home, social circle. Somebody said, well, that's too much. Well, you prayed for more.
Yeah.
Now you have to learn how to manage it.
There you go. Dude, you just said, I think, a mouthful there. We pray for these lives. When I look at Instagram and when I look at TikTok and all of this, and everyone's showing these lives of doing all this stuff, we pray for these lives. And then when they come, or when we appear to have them, then it's like, oh, well, I can't handle this, or why is this happening to me? Or, now I was watching, I don't know if y'all got kids, so y'all understand Doja Cat. You know who Doja Cat is. I was watching an interview with her, and I told y'all I love interviews. Watching an interview with her and Ebro, he works at Apple as well as in New York from the radio. And she was saying, like, now where she doesn't like the fame that she has, she doesn't like, but you're out there now. This is the life you wanted, and it's in front of you. So what do you do that? And I want both of you to answer that. What do you do then to when you pray for these things? They're there. God has answered the prayer. What do you do to manage them well? From that perspective of family. And I know you just answered some of that, Ricardo, but I want to give, like, we're going into a new year, so I kind of want you to, like, help us. What are some things that you all do to manage that well?
I mean, I would say no a lot. I think that we're scared to say no to people. And even hearing Ricardo talk about management and managing ourselves well, I think that that's something a lot of people struggle with. They don't have time to manage themselves well because they so busy out here, got other people managing them. They're letting other people manage them and manage their time and tell them what they need to do, what they shouldn't be doing, and they fall into that. So they don't have time to experience joy and managing yourself well and experiencing. And I know Ricardo will talk about this, because really, I know, Ricardo, your platform is faith, family, fitness, finances, fun, and all these different areas in managing yourself well, because it's just, for me, I've learned it is okay to say no. If what you are asking me to say yes to is completely just not where Esther Moreno is going, it is okay. I ain't saying be mean to nobody. I slap them in the face and say no.
That was my next question: is how do you say that though? How do you what is the best way? So I worked at Apple, I worked for Apple, and there's a way to give bad news. When I was a genius, there was a way to start off that with bad news. How do you say no?
Watch this. There is an anointing in the skill setting of putting a good no together. Well, you know, EC, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to, but I'm so grateful for the question or the opportunity that you're offering, but I'm not going to be able to catch it around this time. See, a lot of people get in their feelings because of their quiet success or busy schedule in declining. You don't have to get in your feelings. You know, the invitation is being offered, the opportunity is being presented. Oh, wow, you are inviting me. Boy, thank you so much. I really appreciate the invite. But you know what, man, next time around. Next time around is a no, you know.
Yeah.
Next time around is a no. Hey, watch this. Unfortunately, I can't at this time. That's also a no, but it's a better no than a blunt no.
Yeah.
And I don't have to go on social media. I'm tired. I got so much going on, and people. I'm gonna say no to everything. I mean, you could say no and say no crafty, like Esther suggested. In addition, I would like to say this, EC. I believe that no is easier said when your vision is very clear.
Exactly.
Whoa, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Don't skip over that. No is very clear.
Yeah.
Or very easy when your vision is very clear.
Yeah. Now here's what the Bible says. The Bible says, where there is no vision, you remember Esther talks about it? People are all over the place. But where there's no vision, the people perish. Vision allows you to say no to good things.
Yeah.
Vision allows you to determine what book you'll read, what meeting you'll attend, who you're going to have in your social circle, what time you'll get up in the morning, what program you'll watch. Vision will determine it. And it'll allow you to be able to be at peace and at ease. Remember I mentioned my first part of my mission was to live my message. So there were people who was like, hey man, how come you ain't living at the next level? They didn't realize it wasn't about next level. It was about internal acceptance.
Yeah. Yep. I love that because I mean, I'll have people reach out to me all the time for what I do in kids ministry. And they're like, oh, we love her personality. We want her to minister to all of our kids. And I'm like, but the vision is I minister to leaders. I equip leaders. So even though these people are so nice, I have to be willing to step back and say, you know what? I don't do that. And say it in a kind way. I have to get my charger.
Just keep going. All right. So what to me is so poignant about what you all are saying is this idea. And Ricardo, the church. Can we just talk to church and church people for just a second? Well, we'll talk about church for a quick second because not everybody here that is on may be church people. But I know you talking businesses as well as Esther. You're talking to all types of people. But that whole idea of going to the next level, you know, it every year, especially the church, has all these themes. We're gonna see Vision 2020 in 2020, or God is gonna do more in 2024. You know, it's all of that. We do these vision things. And I have a question around that, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. So I'm not a resolution person. I'm not even I'm more of a theme person. You know, I like themes. So this year, coming into end of this year, going into next year, my theme is about intentionality. These conversations, being intentional in reaching out in talking to people, being in the moment, being intentional about being. That's something that my therapist has talked to me about, being in the moment, because my mind is always going. Talk a little about what we were talking about, next levels and resolutions, and we're going to go to more in 2024. What are you? Are you a theme person, a goal person, a resolution person, and why are you that type of person? What made you come to that?
Oh man, that is a deep question, EC.
Oh,
man, you just coming out the gate, huh? I think I'm exactly the same. I am not a resolution person. I just believe in going forward for the spirit of excellence. I do believe in finding creative ways to reinvent yourself, and to be exciting and fun. I am big on words for the year. And I think that my word, I've had the same word for probably the past 2 to 3 years, and it's wisdom. Is this a wise choice? Are you walking in wisdom by saying yes to this, by making this decision, by doing this? And whatever area it is, whether I'm dealing with my husband and I'm dealing with marriage, or I'm dealing with the overall family, and I'm dealing with decisions for the kids, or if I'm dealing with ministry in the church, I actually have, you can't see it, but I actually have wisdom engraved. So I can always see it. So as I'm walking and I'm making decisions, or I'm working, or whatever it is I'm dealing with, I'm always constantly thinking, is this the wise choice? Have you stopped to really think about this? Because the old Esther was very impulsive, like, come on, sure, I'll do it. Yes, whatever you need me to do, I'll be there. Oh, don't worry about it. I got this. And didn't realize that I was saying no to my purpose by saying yes to theirs.
Did you become a theme and gather this theme of wisdom because you couldn't keep a goal, or couldn't? I'm not cracking on you, but is it because resolutions were hard? What made you say
it was? I mean, it was resolutions for me was like a bad diet that you just ultimately do not stick to, and just kind of walk away from it. And I realized, even with coming up, and I'll say goals, even coming up with goals for the new year, because I do think you should really think about what are the new goals, as you're going into a new year. I think that is super important. For me, I realized that I'm not in and of myself. I have a family to think about. So a lot of times I'll come on board with my husband, and me and Guy will come together, and we will talk about we'll talk about different areas of our life. I mean, we're really corny. I mean, we have a whole document that we print out. My husband's like, we are dedicating 24 hours to this task. I can be difficult with it because I'm a little ADD, but he is so patient with me. But we sit there and we go over these goals that we have, and then we break them down. We begin to break them down into even smaller goals. Okay, that's nice that you have these goals, but what are we going to do proactively throughout our months, throughout these 12 months that God has given us, to make sure that we're actually reaching these goals? What are we going to do proactively as our daughter is growing up, before our very eyes? How are we really going to be closer to her and make sure that we're loving on her and ministering to her? What are we going to proactively do every day, or maybe 2 times a week, in order to ensure that our kids are growing in their faith? We're crazy. Ricardo got a dog, and then I copied off of him, and now I have a dog, and now this is like another life. What are we going to do to make sure that this animal does not overtake our home, but is actually trained and behaving the way we want her to behave as a new Moreno? So we just really kind of break it down like that.
That's good. That's good. You, Ricardo?
Well, I'm big on goals. I mean, I remember when I came to the United States, one of the things I did was I prayed about it, spent a couple of weeks together, and I said, a decade is going to happen. What would I like to see happen within that decade? And EC, I wrote down every year that I wanted to do a different international country for children's ministry. I remember I wanted to do missions. I wanted to speak at conferences. I wanted to write a book. Do you know, my spiritual mother refers to the document that I put together, because I went to Kinko's and had it bound like a book. And it had the years of what I wanted to accomplish. And I work towards those. And that's what it works for me, because it allows me to be able to identify what am I going to do with the year that is given to me. So for me is 2024 is coming. I look at 2024 and I'm like, okay, here's the problem I initially had with my goals. That initial decade goal, EC, all of that was on that list really wasn't about Ricardo. It was about what people will celebrate about Ricardo. It was the things that would get me some cheers. And so I kept getting these medals, but there was an empty void within. Wow. Now, the list that I'm making at this stage of my life is really inward first. And so it's like, okay, at the end of 2024, will I like who I have become with the 52 weeks that God has given me? And so while everybody's doing a lot of things, I could say no to a lot of those things because I'm not on that run. My goals, my vision, the idea that I believe that I'm going to bring to life in 2024 has me on lock. And so one of the things that it also does for me, EC, is the last 15 years, I've been constantly on the grind, because every year I establish something and I work towards that in spite of what's going on. It could have been a pandemic. It could have been a personal life crisis. It could have been a hurricane in the Caribbean, or it could have been a tornado in Texas. Ricardo Miller is still chipping away. And so with that said, I've been able to survive and thrive through a lot of things because of, not because I'm grand or great in skill, but those little practical things that I commit to, checking them off has allowed me to stay visible and progressively moving forward.
So if I hear both of you already, what you're saying, Esther, then is the idea of, so you have a theme and then parsing that theme out into like, how are we going to make this happen? And you're saying even put it on paper. This is how it's going to happen. And what I hear you saying, Ricardo, then is then taking your theme, you had a bigger goal, and then deciding who is the goal satisfying, and where is the goal? Where is it landing? Is it landing for others, or is it landing for what God has for me, what I'm designing to do? And then once I get to that, kind of inwardly searching, and then putting that and sticking to that. And I think that's important. The reason I really want to hone in on those things, because I think when this holiday is coming up and the new year is coming up, we want to buy stuff for other people. We want to impress others. We want to make sure everything is taken care of. And we need to parse some things out. We need to sit down and kind of get focused as we go into a new year. I believe it's just like the scripture says about God gives us new mercies every day. I think every year is a good time to really put that hat back on, or that thinking cap, as we learned as children pastors. So, so you understand that, putting that on and really kind of sitting down and saying, what am I going to do, to your point, Ricardo, what am I going to do with this year? And at the end of this year, am I satisfied with what came out? So what does a check-in look like for both of you? I'll start with you, Ricardo, and then Esther. What does check-in look out to make sure that you're doing those things throughout the year?
Well, I'm a real sticker for this. Every week there are some things working towards. Every month there are some things I'm working towards. The weeks are working towards the month. The months are working towards the quarter. Quarter is working towards the year. And so, I mean, I'll tell you the truth, EC, I've had some category 5 devastating issues and challenges that sort of came my way in my life. But in the midst of it, I still can't tell you I've had a bad year in the last decade. And I think it's because I stayed focused. And I made up in my mind that I'm going to stay. As a matter of fact, Bishop Michael Pitts said to me when I was going through a very challenging time, I said, man, I'm going to stop and check out and he said, if you stop, you probably won't come back. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to work through this. And then I remember he referred to something that happened in 9/11. He said one of the things that the Giuliani had to do was he called and challenged the city to get back to life as usual as fast as possible. Because if that had not happened, people would have hurt themselves on the inward of not doing what they were accustomed to. And so for me, EC, when I look at my goals, the goals is no matter what's going on, listen, man, even the good, the bad, or the ugly, I'm going to make it through this because I feel like the goals that I've written down was inspired by God. This is what I've been called to do at this particular time. It's not good ideas. I'm not fond of good ideas. I'm fond of God ideas. Things that will outlive my feelings.
Yeah. I love that.
Boy, Ricardo, you be pulling out those big emotions and feelings, man. That I wish we had time to really sparse it. What does it look, man? What does a check-in look like for you?
Oh my goodness. For me, it's total accountability. I mean, you cannot do this thing by yourself. I think that people who think that they can do things by themselves will lose. I think you need strong people, and not just accountability with it's not just being okay, whatever. Okay, I'll call my girlfriend over here to hold me accountable, but for real, getting strong people who you trust, who you see them going where you want to go, or you see even the lifestyle that they have it emulates a lifestyle that you would like to walk in. Keeping those strong people around you and having them serve as that accountability, mentorship, coaching. For me, that has just been absolutely invaluable because Esther will make excuses for Esther to give Esther a pass on why it's really not that big of a deal for me to do this. It's not. If I skip doing this, it's not that big of a deal. If I don't post this, if I don't equip or inspire on this day, it's not a big deal. I can jump on it the next day. But it is a big deal because, like Ricardo says, I'm chipping away. I'm eating little bites of the elephant at a time so that I can get to this ultimate goal of purpose that God has called for me to walk in. So Ricardo says this all the time, which I was going to say it, but I was like, this is an inappropriate time to say it. But he always talks about this bucket of glue. He always says, when you stick your hand in a bucket of glue, finish it, Ricardo. What else do you say?
If you stick your hands in a bucket of glue, it's impossible for some of that glue not to stick to you. That's association right there.
It is. And when you have strong people around you and they're fighting for their dreams and they're pushing and they're so goal and purpose driven and oriented, that inspires you to shoot for your dreams and to just walk in your purpose. So which is why I'm so excited that I have you two amazing men in my life that I get to follow and see and have that stickiness stick to me and inspire me, especially on those days, because you're going to have those days where you don't want to do it, where you just have to choose to push through.
Yeah, I love that. So again, Ricardo, checking in looks like coming back, always remembering what it is, fighting through it, regardless, not giving up. Esther, that whole idea of, hey, I need somebody else in on this with me. I cannot do this alone.
And I say this too, EC, just really quickly. And when I say that, like when you get accountability around you, don't just get people who just going to be nice to you and be like, oh, girl, you good. You deserve a break. Like get people. And that's so funny. Well, I've known both of you for a while now. Ricardo, I've known you, it's been probably like 6 years now. And I love having him as accountability because he will not be nice to me. Like he will not stroke my ego and be like, girl, you done worked hard. Go ahead and take a break. I mean, he will tell me, what is wrong with you? Ricardo knows some of my projects that I'm doing. So he's so funny. Ricardo, do you remember? He literally texted me the other day. I was like, man, let me jump on this project I'm supposed to be doing. Let me drive to the library. I get a text message from Ricardo as I'm driving there that literally insults me and says, why you procrastinating, Esther? Stop procrastinating and get the job done. And I'm like, Now, I did tell him to shut up. That was my response. But I knew he was right. And it was accountability that I needed that pushed me and inspired me to really work that hard, that day to do what I would have been like, oh, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll do it next week.
Yeah. I think Ricardo is definitely tapped in. He sent me a text once, just out of clear blue. He doesn't text me a whole lot.
Yeah.
I got a little issue. No, I'm just kidding. But when he texted me, and Ricardo, I just be honest, I don't remember exactly what it was, but in that moment, I needed it. And it was one of those moments where it just kind of brought me back, kind of like, it's like the shoulders, that little boom, 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 when you go off the road on the expressway. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. It was one of those. It was a reminder, and I was like, oh, somebody is tapped in and somebody is watching, whether he sees it physically or not, whether God told him or he told him. The point is, somebody is there in your corner, and that's so amazing. Hey, y'all, can I do real quick rapid fire 5 questions?
Yes, I'm so bad at this. Let's go.
Okay. It's kind of a cheat because Ricardo kind of,
he's gonna wait because it's the 5 F's.
Yes, it is. All right, but I've kind of I'll go first, Esther, then Ricardo, and then the next one, Ricardo, Esther. Okay. So, favorite scripture?
Romans 12. I'm not gonna say this right. No, look, when people ask me what my favorite scripture is, it's funny because I do John 3:16. It comes to me so fast.
Oh God.
That's the children's pastor in you.
Yeah. Romans 12:1, right?
Okay. No, Galatians 2:20. I've been crucified with Christ.
Okay, got you. Ricardo.
John 15:8. John 15:8. Herein is how my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit.
Okay. He had a whole lot of time.
I hate when people ask what your favorite
didn't have. All right, rapid fire. Favorite family activity, Ricardo?
Playing dominoes.
All right.
Going to the beach.
All right. Esther, favorite fitness activity?
Walking.
Ricardo?
Treadmill at the gym.
Okay. Ricardo, the one thing your best friend loves about you?
Our candid conversations.
Ooh. Esther?
Oh, I'm incredibly goofy.
All right, last one, Esther, and then Ricardo. The most expensive thing you would buy yourself?
Oh, most expensive I would buy myself is a pair of Jordans.
All right.
Ricardo. I would buy myself a presidential Rolex.
Ooh, nice. And that we got about well, let's take 2 minutes. Y'all got 2 minutes?
We got 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes. And the people who are watching, y'all 2 minutes, and I know we said an hour, we'll go over just a little, but look, it's a new year coming up. You guys have something coming on happening this Tuesday. Thank you for those rapids. If you know, it's family, faith, family, fitness, friendships, and finance. So it's a little cheap there. So you have something coming up on Tuesday night. Can y'all tell us a little about it? What's happening with y'all?
Absolutely. Super excited. Every third Tuesday of the month, I do a special conversation in particular for those who are involved in ministry when it comes to reaching the next generation, kids ministry. And we are ending the year strong. And we were talking about really how to go into 2024 and just really hit it hard and succeed and to excel in your leadership of volunteers and your reaching of children and families and all of the gambit. We are giving away grand prizes. It is going to be so much fun. So just super excited. We are going through a season, a lot of times at the end of the year, for especially for kids ministry leaders, they're like, I'm falling and going to sleep. And we're like, no. Y'all, you need to wake up, okay? It's about to be a new year, and we don't want to get ready for the new year in the new year. We want to get ready for the new year now so that when we're in it, we are just taking off. So super excited about that conversation. I mean, I'm gonna have the Ricardo Miller there. So if you ain't in kids ministry, you're gonna get something out of this conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because EC, we're going to talk about 2024. Winning in 2024 really is a recipe. And when you figure out the recipe, or let me use the term a combination, when you get the combination for the lock, EC, boy, listen, the joy of being able to know you have access to what's behind the door that lock is holding. And that's really what it is. Until you know all the numbers. EC, if I give you a combination log that had 8 numbers on it, but you remembered 5, I don't care how excited about the 5 you've remembered, you still don't have access.
You still don't have access.
You still don't. And EC, you could. Here's the deal. This is why I like Esther's conversation for children's ministry leaders that she has coming up, is because it's recorded and people can go back and listen, because the ideas that's going to be suggested, some people, even if you give them the full 8 numbers, EC, what's going to happen is about 2 days later, they'll be like, I remember 5 of them, but I can't remember the other ones. You can go back and listen, because the truth is, it's like learning the numbers. Once you know the numbers to a combination lock, you can go there in seconds and get access. But for somebody, you may have told them the number, but they didn't quite get the number. They go there and they start struggling, and they start to feel stupid and crazy. And here's the deal. You don't have to feel stupid. You don't have to feel crazy. You just need to learn from somebody who has figured out the numbers. You can win.
So
I love it. I love it. Get the combination. Get there on Tuesday night. Have this conversation with you.
And I do want to say, EC, that the conversation, Ricardo mentioned that it'll be recorded. Obviously, you have to be there live to win the prizes. I mean, we're giving away free coaching, all types of things. So it's going to be really exciting. But it is housed actually in a private Facebook page that's called Children's Ministry Moving Forward. That is the private Facebook page.
That's the private. Can I write that down?
Yeah, absolutely. Children's Ministry Moving Forward. It is a private Facebook page, because really we want people who are serious about being excellent in how they do ministry and how they reach the next generation. We're not pushing this off on people who don't want to be there. We want it to be. It has become just this incredible group of people who are really trying to support each other and go with the mindset of really growing together when it comes to their leadership. So,
Awesome, man. You know what? And you all are the perfect people to do it. I have enjoyed the last hour and how many minutes? 2
minutes and 57 seconds.
This has been so amazing. There's 2 people who commented. One of the comments was, "That's good. The world needs what all 3 of you have." So just thankful for that. That person actually has this last name as
Cunningham. Are you related? Is this a setup?
Might be. Another comment said, "Take it one bite at a time." Great stuff. They have your last name, but I know they're not kin to you, Ricardo.
Esther's a Miller as well.
Yeah, that's what so when you said that earlier, I'm like, yo, like there's some connection here somewhere. And the comment came up, yes, I am a Cunningham. I am. But yeah, when I thought of it, we're gonna talk about that offline, because you might be kin to some folks that because my in-laws are all, my wife's maiden name is Miller. So this gonna be really, I'm around a whole lot of Millers all the time, man. What is that about?
Hey, listen, easy. My wife's mother's maiden family name is Millers.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo, man, what is happening?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you this. I'm not the brother that I wasn't gonna change my last name to my wife's name. I'm just putting that out there. That's a new thing now. That's a whole different conversation. Y'all, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you so much for having this conversation, going over almost 5 minutes. But I love you all dearly. I thank you for considering this a time to just be vulnerable, and also to use, the gifts. We didn't talk about anything that I know that you don't both live. You actually live out what you talked about. And that's really why I wanted to have this conversation. Is there anything, any place I have down there, how people to contact you? What's the best way to contact you, or what is it that you want people to walk away with? Yeah, 2 questions and then we'll close out. Esther, best way to contact you, and I know it's down there, but still give it to us. And what do you want people to walk away with tonight?
Absolutely. Best way to contact me is esthermoreno.com. And if there's anything I want people to walk away with, it's that you don't have to follow the traditions of men. You can break the mold. If you have the faith, the discipline, the consistency, you will see the fruit from that if you stay faithful to that. So that's what I want people to walk away from.
Break the mold. You don't have to be religious. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And for me, I would say you can connect with me on all major social media sites. I'm present there all the time, everywhere.
All the time, as early as 6 a.m.
All the time.
And then what I want you to take away is, the Bible talks about in all you're getting, get an understanding. If life's not working for you, there's a reason why. And you want to get an understanding. And somebody is assigned to help you. So what you're not doing well in, someone is doing well in. And if you would get past pride and shame and public opinion and just simply tell yourself, I'm coming for mine, get the help, embrace it, because there's an understanding to winning.
Wow. Get understanding. Well, I thank y'all again. My name is E.C. Cunningham, E Pluribus. They call me EC. We host tonight an On Purpose conversation. If you want to contact me, it's there on the bottom of the screen. Leadersimage.com, leadersimage.org. Change leadersimage.org or eccunningham.com, or you can email me at epluribus, my first name, at leadersimage.org. I thank you all again so much for joining us tonight, for joining these 2 lovely folks. Lovely folks sounds so formal, my friends. Ricardo Miller and Esther Moreno, and hopefully that you all will join us for another conversation. Hey, would you? I'm inviting you all back. Would you have another conversation at some point?
Absolutely.
All right. Love y'all so much. It was great talking. I will see you all real soon. And remember, you can be the best when you look for the best. And the best is within you because God put it already there. That wasn't practice. That was just said off the dome. I got bars. All right, y'all. Have a good night. We love you and see you real soon.